Howdy everybody, old Gare out here at the Fishing Shack, and welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report and Fishing Show. How y'all doing? Golly, thanks for joining us again this week. Last week we had nearly 21,000 viewers. God bless you, thank you very much. And that is fantastic for being after Labor Day weekend. Here we are in the middle of September already. And looking at the weather for the next week, 10 days, it looks fantastic. Should have a great weekend. And next week, in the upper 70s, low 80s. It looks fantastic. Well, okay, we've got some pretty doggone good fishing reports for you on today's program. Crappie are starting to move a little bit better. They were kind of slacked off there for a little bit. But good reports, not at Truman. It's always good there. Have very good crappie reports coming out of Truman in the last few days. Pomme de Terre, for the guys searching for them. Man, they're catching some nice crappie out at Pomme. And, Stockton's been kind of tough, touch and go. But we've had some good reports coming out of Stockton. And the bass fishing's been pretty doggone good. Carla and I have been out 2 or 3 times this last few days and really done good. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's go here. Let's go fishing. Let's start out at Beaver Lake. The water temperature out at Beaver was 81 degrees this morning when I called. That's not too bad for this time of the year, middle of September. And Danny Reeves was out the other day. And look at these beautiful stripers that Danny caught. Good going, Mr. Reeves. Great stripers. That's very nice. Boy, some nice stripers being caught out there. Here's a photo I love. Kurt Goff. He was out the other day, sent this photo. I picked it up, and it was wonderful because an 86-year-old lady and her son was out, and I think her son was named Tom, and look at the fish they caught. 86 years old. Hey, I just had my 75th birthday. I can't wait to catch fish like that when I'm 86. But I'm in no hurry. I'm in no hurry to get 86. Congratulations, young lady. You had some nice fishing out at Beaver. Okay, Ryan Harris was out the other day, and he picked up this nice bass. Good going, Ryan. Good going. Been some nice bass caught out at Beaver this week. We'll be talking about this during our fishing report segment. And down below the dam, guys, that water's cooler. Where the water comes out of the dam and goes into the White River. Boy, they've really been catching some nice fish out there. In fact, our old buddy Richard Lee Harris from Custom Adventure Guide Service, I want to show you this photo. He was out just a couple days ago, and look what he got for one of his customers. This is one beautiful rainbow trout. Big old chunky trout. Good going, Richard Lee. And Lisa, our friend from Custom Adventure Guide Service. Boy, look at this photo. She had some kids out the other day, and look at this. Look at that young lady. Look at that nice, beautiful smile. So good going down below the dam. And they've been catching some nice fish. They've been catching some limits out there, and some fish, of course, in that slot limit, but releasing some fish, but catching some and keeping some very nice trout. Okay, let's go for a quick report up on Beaver Lake. They're still catching some crappie, and what they've been doing, mainly the report I received from point 6 all the way down to the dam, the guides have been going out there with their electronics and kind of cruising back and forth of the dams, the points I should say, and looking for shad, looking for the bait. If you find big bunches of bait, eventually there's going to be some stripers moving in. And once they do, they're there with live bait vertically fishing and catching some beautiful stripers, some very nice stripers. And also that bass fishing. I want to talk about this quite briefly. Been some nice bass caught out at Beaver this week. They've been getting up early in the morning, and they've been going out and doing a little top water. The whopper plopper. They've been using some spooks, junior spooks, some popping baits. Get out there this weekend with your favorite bait and see any kind of activity. Get out there and pitch that top water bait, and you could have a chance of picking up some real nice bass. And when the sun gets up, the bass go down on those long gravel points. They're doing some drop shot fishing. Also, they're getting in the mouth of the creek, so this is the time of the year these shad, some of the shad are going to start moving back into the creek arms and river arms, and you can get back there with swim baits, also pitching jigs, and boy, I tell you what, have a chance of picking up some nice bass this weekend out at Beaver. You know, I've had some reports of some walleye being caught out there again this week, but what the boys are doing is there's very few people fishing for them, but the boys that are going out and the gals are going out fishing the lower end points off those long gravel points and looking for any kind of activity near the bottom or suspended about halfway through the bottom. Near the bottom, some of the guys are going with bottom bouncers with a night crawler. When they're suspended, some people are using spoons. Other people are trolling, once in a while picking up a nice walleye. Had some fair reports on crappie fishing the last few days out at Beaver, and they're going for those suspended brush piles, or not suspended brush piles, but brush piles, isolated brush piles. And once they find any kind of shad activity near these brush piles, they get down there and vertically fish minnows, I understand, at times picking up some nice crappie out at Beaver. All right, let's go out to Table Rock. That water temperature this morning was 81 degrees, not bad. Boy, we have a fun story to talk about here at the end of the Table Rock report on that high school tournament they had over the past weekend. It's a fun thing, so don't go away. Okay, out at Table Rock, they've been picking up some nice bass. The topwater fishing has improved just a little bit this week, and they've been picking up some fish on whopper ploppers, spooks, and also some popping baits. And here's something I said a week or two ago, that sometimes these fish are finicky. You'll get up there and pop that bait, and they'll come up and swirl at it. Don't really want to hit it. That's when you want to have like a grub or a swim bait. And once you miss that fish, or he doesn't really pay much attention to that bait, just kind of swipes at it, pitch that bait out, swim bait, grub, let it drop, maybe count of 7, and then slow reel that rascal in. You'll have a chance of picking up that fish. But there has been some nice fish caught at times with the topwater baits out at Table Rock. And then when the sun gets up, this is when you want to start going to the Ned rig. We've had good reports on shaky heads. And then when it gets up a little in the later morning, go out and do your drop shot fishing. Another thing, just like I mentioned over at Beaver, this is the time of the year you want to start looking back in the mouth of the creeks, about a third of the way back, maybe a half of the way back. Look for your big schools of shad, because the shad are starting to move back into these creek areas. Swim baits can work good for you, and also pitching jigs and some around the banks with the brush piles. Another thing, we were fishing this week, Carl and I. We really picked up some nice fish this week, and I tell you what, drop shotting and also grubs, throwing grubs. We'll be talking about this in a minute. But the bass fishing has been pretty good this week, and some nice smallmouth being caught out at Table Rock. Lucas Cry was out the other day. Look at this nice bass Lucas caught. Good going, chummer. Good going, my friend. And hey, my best fishing partner, Carla, look at this beautiful smallmouth she caught the other day using an ultralight 4-pound test, and she did a great job bringing this fish in. Did some backpedaling. I tell you what, she just took her time with this fish, because you know, catching a nice smallmouth like this on 4-pound test, you have to really take your time, because they are so powerful. Good going, Carla. Nice fish, that's for sure. Brian Ward was out the other day, and he picked up this nice bass. Here again, there's been some nice bass caught on Table Rock this week, without a doubt. Hey, you know, last weekend they had the high school big fishing tournament out on Table Rock for the high school kids. You know, this is something that they have classes and they have teams on high school. Then these kids get together and compete with each other, and they just have a bunch of fun, and they catch fish. In fact, out of Table Rock over the weekend, there's 237 teams, and that means there's 474 high school kids out there fishing in this tournament. God bless you guys. Boy, you did a great job. A tip of the hat. Hey, I tell you what, Hayden Long and Nathan Pratt was out, and they were dogging it and won that tournament. Good going, guys. Boy, I know you guys are tough fishermen. I've heard a lot about you guys. You're tough fishermen. And so a tip of the hat to you guys for winning that big tournament. Also, J.D. Tate and Willie Amaron was out. What is the name of that? Amethyst? I missed his name. I wrote it down, but I smeared it. I'm sorry, Willie. They're from Spokane, and they placed 14th in this tournament. Great job, guys. Very good going. Hey, now we want to end this segment up, this on Table Rock, is that while they were fishing this high school tournament, some kids were out fishing the tournament, had a thump on an artificial bait, of course, and brought in, look at this, big old goldfish. My God, I've never seen a goldfish in a lake this big. And boy, what a thrill. I bet they thought they had a big old bass and it come up being a big old goldfish. But I've had reports on goldfish being in Table Rock. I've had several reports up the James and other arms. People occasionally see a big old goldfish, 6, 8, 10 pounds swim by. So that's fun. So what a great picture. Great photo. And getting back to the high school tournament, Hayden Long and Nathan, I tell you what, I want to make you the photo of the week because look at these beautiful bass. Boy, you kids did a great job. Good going. Now I want to get back to the bass fishing just right briefly. Carl and I found some fish all off of a chunk rock bank in about 25 feet of water. And you could see with a locator a lot of activity. And I'll tell you what's happening now. There's another shad hatch. And there's some baby shad that's swimming right now throughout our lake in big schools. So if you can find these baby shad hatches, boy, bass love those rascals. They love them. And so what we were doing is we threw some grubs. I'll tell you what, we caught several fish on a grub. And so don't overlook the grub. Find those schools of baby shad and and fish near the bank. But stay in about 20-25 feet of water. You may catch some good fish. Another thing, if you happen to have a little bit of wind this weekend and overcast, I tell you, I've had good reports, like I said on last week's program, square-billed crankbaits on the bluff ends and some of the chunk rock banks, try square-billed, and also we've had some reports of some spinner baits working as well. And still, up the river areas, don't overlook those 10-inch plastic worms. Ooh, dark color, purple, gray, black. You could hang on to a big old bass in a brush pile with that 10-inch plastic worm. Okay, the walleye fishing slowed just a little bit at Table Rock. They seem to be moving off those points for some reason right now. But I've had reports on the main river channel, like the White River Channel. Just get in there and zigzag with your locator and look. And you may be in 60, 70 feet of water, but you may see some fish 15, 20 feet down. Hey, that's when you want to go to trolling. Troll a flicker shad or a flicker minnow, and you could catch yourself a nice walleye. But it has slowed just a little bit. Crappie fishing has been fair up in the James River arm up in the Cape Fear area. They've been picking up some crappie in the standing timber, anywhere from about 15 to 18, 20, 22 feet of water on minnows, and around some of the docks. The docks have improved just a little bit this week, and there's been some crappie caught in the docks. So Table Rock looks good for the upcoming weekend. Good fish out there, Carla and Brian and Lucas. Good bass caught this week. All right, let's go out to Lake Taneycomo, out of that deep water coming out of Table Rock Dam. It's 56 degrees out there this morning. And I want to say hey to Greg and his wife. They were out the other day. They're not running a whole lot of water out of Taneycomo Dam or the generators right now, so it's been real shallow. So we've had good reports on fly fishing the last few days. And Greg was out. Look at his wife. Look at this beautiful, beautiful trout that she caught on a fly rod. Good going, chummer. And Greg, I tell you what, he picked up a nice fish as well. Good going, Greg, out at Lake Taneycomo. And I want to show you this fish from Trout Hollow Lodge, Our old friends out at Trout Hollow, they've been having several fish caught off the docks this week out there, mainly on night crawlers, I understand. And look at this nice fish caught out at Trout Hollow Lodge, right on the dock. Good going. And I want to end up the Taneycomo segment and going to Cooper Creek. Cooper Creek, you bet. Michelle Leopard was out the other day, with her daughter, and look at her daughter, what she caught off the Cooper Creek dock. Beautiful, beautiful trout. And Michelle, thanks for taking your daughter fishing. Look at that smile. That's what it's all about. That's for sure. Now, there's good fly fishing taking place. And if they're not running any water, which they haven't run a whole lot, you may just have to get out there and the quiet water. This is when you want to use your don't go over 4-pound test with those small jigs, 32nd, 64th ounce, dark colored. Cinnamon will be good, and also your black, your gray, something like this, and work it with that light line. And other than that, you may just want to try some night crawler fishing, and with a little split shot up above your gold hook or a hook, about 12, 18 inches, you can catch fish doing this as well. So try Taneycomo. Not much water going out there right now. Okay, let's go out at Bull Shoals. The water temperature out there at Bull was 83 degrees today. Look at our old chummer, David Thompson. Hey, he was out the other day, said it was tough, but he caught these 3 nice walleye. Good eating size, David. The walleye fishing has slowed somewhat out at Bull Shoals the last few days, but they're picking up some fish down at the lower end off some of the points and just on some of the edges of the flats. But a little finicky right now. Night crawlers are still the best overall bait, but it's been a little bit tougher. Bass fishing continues to be pretty good out at Bull Shoals. You want to get out there early in the morning and you want to try some topwater fishing. Yeah, they've been picking up some fish on spooks and junior fish, spooks, and also some whopper ploppers, some jerk baits, and they've been picking up some fish on your favorite topwater bait early in the morning, first 40, 45 minutes. And then, as that sun starts to come up, go to the points, the bluff ends, try square bill crankbaits, and also flip some jigs. And then as the sun gets up, get on those points out there, look at your locator, throw some Ned rigs, or get out deeper, go to drop shots. But those shad, some of the shad are starting to move back into the creek areas. Try the mouth of the creek areas on square bill crankbaits. Swim baits ought to work. And don't be afraid to throw a crankbait as well. So Bull Shoals, you can't, boy, there's been some nice smallmouth caught out there like Table Rock this week as well. Crappie fishing, haven't had too much to report on crappie. We have still had reports of a few nice crappie being caught at Bull Shoals. Isolated brush piles. It seems like they're not in a bunch of brush, but if you can locate with your locators isolated brush piles with some shad around, drop down with the minnow, and you may have to go 15, 20, 25 feet of water, but you could have a chance of picking up some nice crappie at Bull Shoals. All right, let's go out to Stockton Lake. That water temperature this morning was 78 degrees. That's not too bad. And Ed Calloway, boy, he's a good fisherman. He loves to stay on top of those walleye. He was out the other day. Here's a picture of Ed and his parties. And they had 18 short walleye, but ended up catching 6 keeper walleye. And that's good for the old frying pan. There's nothing wrong with that, that's for sure. You had a lot of action, Ed, that's for sure. And same thing with the walleye fishing we've been talking about here for weeks. They've gone out on the main lake flats, on the edge of the flats, the main lake points. They haven't had a lot of wind certain days, and so this is when you want to get like a jig and a half a night crawler and just vertically fish down near the bottom. Go to the bottom, get slack line, pick it up a crank off the bottom, and just sit there and vertically fish, and you can catch some walleye. You may have to wade through the short ones, but you might catch yourself a few for dinner, that's for sure. And at times they're picking up one by trolling flicker shads. It's anything with a chartreuse on it. Okay, other than that, Mark Patton, he was out the other day. Look at this nice bass that he caught. Good going, Mark. Nice fish. And the bass fishing's been pretty good out at Stockton. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to talk a little bit about crappie. They're still suspended anywhere from 12, 15 feet of water to 25 feet of water. They've been pushing and pulling bandits and also flicker minnows. and at times picking up some nice crappie. But I want to say you have to wade through a lot of small ones to get some keepers. But if you keep at it, you can end up with a nice mess of fish. That's for sure. Nice crappie out there at times. And getting back to the bass, we've had good bass caught out at Stockton this week, off the brush piles, off the points. And I'm telling you, they're flipping plastic worms. There are also jigs in there. And if there's a little bit of wind or overcast skies, don't overlook a crankbait or a square-billed crankbait. Don't be afraid to slow roll some spinnerbaits around those areas as well. So Stockton, get out there. A variety of fishing taking place at Stockton. By the way, one other quick thing. You want to take the kids out or get somebody into some good fishing in the evening hours. The points have been loaded with shad and white bass coming up and busting on top. And boy, when you do find the white bass breaking top water, it can be a lot of fun. And it's easy. You can get out there with road runners or a white jig, 1/8 ounce white jig, pitch that out there and just skim it under those schooling fish. Oh, it can be a lot of fun for the kids and anybody. Try that this weekend. All right, let's go out to Pomme de Terre. We have some chummers here, Eric Massey and his son Zach. Guys, they're good crappie fishermen, and they really like to fish Pomme de Terre. And look at Zach. Isn't this Zach, I have to apologize. This should be the photo of the week, doggone. I'm going to make it the co-photo of the week. Great photo, Zach and Eric. Well, they said the fishing's tough out there, but the pattern they have, they're catching some nice fish when they do get into them. And also, Beth Stepp was out. Her husband was out the other day with a buddy, and this photo comes from Beth. And look and say you can't get into crappie at Pomme right now. Look at this table full of crappie. Good going, guys. That's an awfully nice crappie. That's out at Pomme de Terre. And what's happening, they're still off the flats and kind of, I would say 15 to 25 feet of water, isolated timber. They've been getting into the isolated timber with a jig and minnow or just dropping a minnow down in isolated brush piles. But boy, when they do find them, just look at that photo there with the steps. That's some nice, nice crappie. You bet with the cooler weather, Blake Buford was out the other day, and look at this nice, beautiful muskie. Oh boy, you bet. Pomme de Terre has muskie in it, and they've got a lot bigger ones than that, but that's a nice fish. And Blake said that he caught this fish, I believe, on a buzz bait, and also he caught another real nice one on a square-billed crankbait. So the muskies are moving around a little bit, and the bass fishing has been pretty doggone good out at Pomme de Terre this week. And they're using a little bit of a topwater bite in the early morning hours, and then they're pitching jigs, slow rolling jigs, and swim baits, and they've been picking up some fish on square-billed crankbaits and spinnerbaits and plastic worms. So that's Pomme de Terre, 77 degrees out there. Okay, let's go out to Truman. The water temperature out there was 75 degrees. And I tell you, they're still catching a lot of crappie out there. Boy, if I had one place to go to catch crappie, it'd be Truman this weekend. There's been good reports in the river arms and some of the creek arms. I've had good reports of fish. You know, a week ago they were about 8 to 12 feet of water. Now this week I understand they're even shallower in a standing timber and some of the brush. They've been catching them shallower than 8 feet of water. Minnows have been the best overall bait. And look at this, I want to tell you, Dylan Stocking. He's a guide out there. And look at these beautiful crappie, table full of crappie. And he's been getting his clients into crappie all week. He's a great fisherman, great crappie fisherman. And he has the Get Outdoors Guide Service. And I see all his photos coming up. Man, is this kid catching some fish. And that's Dylan Stocking out at Truman Lake. Crappie fishing's been good. So they've been not only in the flats, but off some of the points. I understand some of the crappie can be caught, but around some of the timber, just vertically fishing has been the key out there. And boy, you have a chance of picking up some nice fish. Now, if you want to get into some hybrid fishing is down by the dam and also around the KK Island area. And you can get in there with spoons or also live bait and get in some good hybrid fishing. And boy, that's a lot of fun when you get into those hybrids. Once in a while, they're picking up a walleye out in that KK Island area down around 15 to 18 feet of water with an 1/8 ounce jig and a half a night crawler. Bass fishing's been good at Truman this week. They've been picking up some fish on the points and secondary points and some of the edge of the flats with brush piles. They've been using a top water like a buzz bait in the morning and slow rolling spinner baits, and they've been picking up some fish on square bill crankbaits and also some swim baits out at Truman. Good fishing out there right now. Okay, let's go out to Lake of the Ozarks, 78 degrees out there. And first of all, Mark Brochard was out the other day, and he picked this walleye up. He says, yeah, there's some walleye at Lake of the Ozarks. Yes, you're right, Mark. Good going. You're a chummer. Thank you very much for that photo. And occasionally they are picking up a walleye. But up the Osage River arm, bass fishing's been good. They've been pitching some of the docks. And also back in the creek arms. You bet. We've been talking about the creek arms. It's that time of the year the shad start moving to the creeks. And the boys have been going out there flipping and pitching jigs around some of the docks, especially in the warmer parts of the day, the shaded docks. And they've really been picking up some nice bass at Lake the Ozarks this week. Now crappie, the same thing. You know, there's the suspended crappie out at Lake the Ozarks, and they've been trolling, pushing and pulling bandits and also flicker minnows or flicker shad. But we've had good reports this week that some of the shaded docks really been paying off for crappie this week. And so get out there and shoot some docks with your jigs, especially the shaded part. Let it drop, slow roll it, and you can catch some crappie doing this. So Lake the Ozarks looks pretty good for the upcoming weekend. And don't overlook your square bill crankbaits and your spinner baits and your worms and swim baits out there for your bass. Pitch the docks though. There's been some nice fish caught in the docks. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. Let's go out to Norfork. It's a little bit further south, so it's a little warmer. It's 78 to 79 degrees out there. The striper fishing's still slow. We haven't had much reports the last 2 or 3 weeks on the striper fishing due to the fact low oxygen level where the stripers are. They're just kind of hanging out, not biting much. But I tell you, the walleye fishing continues to be good for the few people out there walleye fishing in 25 to 30 feet of water. Some people are using spoons, other people are using jigs with a half a night crawler or a night crawler, vertically fishing 25 to 30 feet of water. And we've had some pretty good reports of bass fishing this week. At times, some surfacing action has taken place, some white bass. Once in a while, a school of bass will come up. But the bass fishing's been pretty good. They've been picking up some fish in the morning hours on topwater and then going to some swim baits. And they've been picking up some fish on jerk baits out there. Try your favorite bass lures. I think you can catch some fish. Haven't had much report on crappie this week out at Norfork. Well, that's our show. We got through it. I want to thank you very much for joining us. And I tell you what, for you people that's watching us over on YouTube, what's left out there, most of the people are watching us on Facebook, but God bless you guys staying with us over at YouTube. I tell you what, be sure to like and share. And Kathy, put it up there, subscribe. We always like you to subscribe. I think we've got well over 2,000 subscribers now on YouTube. And if you'd like to send us any photo, the best way to get it on YouTube would go to our email. Email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. So God bless you guys over on YouTube. Now, getting over to Facebook, golly molly, we have thousands of viewers on Facebook. Boy, just a lot of viewers. Like I said on the beginning of the program, we had nearly 21,000 viewers this week on the program. And that's fantastic after Labor Day. A lot of times people kind of put up the rod and reel after Labor Day. Well, you don't want to do that because fishing's really great here in the Ozarks in the fall months. But anyway, you YouTubers, I tell you what I want you to do. I want you to join our Fishing Chums group on Facebook. Fishing Chums group. And we have a lot, thousands, I think 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers right now. But we have fun. We have fun on our group page. We talk about fishing reports. We talk about fishing techniques with each other. Any questions anybody has, we'll answer it for you. And this is the best place when you are a group subscriber is that if you want to send photos in, boy, that's the best place to get it to us, because we'll get it right on the air the following week. But be sure to, when you do send a photo in, be sure to tell me what lake you're at when you caught that fish. Some people send in a photo of a nice fish and have a hard time finding out what lake they were in. Be sure to do that. And so that's over on and our good friends at Facebook. Be sure to do that. Join our group. Thank you very much for joining us today. We had a pretty good little show for the middle of September. And I'm going out this weekend, and I hope I see you out on the lake. And if I don't see you out on the lake, I'll see you next week right here on Fishin' Chums. Hey, don't go anywhere, because Kathy and I have some excellent photos with our photo run of great photos you people have sent in. Have a great weekend. Love y'all. Happy outdoors. Roll those photos, Kathy.